Hello, my name is Justin,
And I'm Blasterboy.
and this is Game 4 of Machi vs. TPA in the 2016 Spring LMS Playoffs. So, last game we had a very convincing Siege composition from TPA. Siege plus Pick, two very strong game plans from TPA in one composition, and Machi just simply didn't have what it took to deal with it.
Yeah, Machi really kind of seemed to fall apart to some extent in that game. They really had no strong answers to that composition. TPA, they knew what would happen as soon as the Azir was not banned. They knew exactly what mode to jump into, and they just locked in a poke comp into the Azir that Machi ended up being so confident in picking in their first rotation.
Yeah, and the poke comp is what makes your enemies fear you, but the pick comp is what actually ends the game, and that's why key player goes over to Bebe for his deadly flourishes that were enable the rest of his team to jump in there and get the kill. And Machi, just with such a one-dimensional team composition, their picks were a little bit all over the place. Just Kindred, supposedly an all-around strong pick right now, and Azir, of course, but other than that, no real win condition. We didn't even see, I don't think, a single time where Braum was actually thrown in as an engagement. We saw Fate's Call used to save his life multiple times because he was getting caught out.
Yeah, the only one time that Machi was ever able to use the Fate's Call to enable Dreamer to dive in was when they caught Fofo and got the single kill of that game. But that was it. That was all that they had. Same band again so far.
I was
Just
kind of hoping we could spice it up a little bit and see what's so terrifying about this Trundle, or what's so terrifying about Refrain's Nidalee that Machi is so scared of. But instead, we're just gonna get some more, and TPA really showing a more flexibility in the draft right here, and I'm loving that because Machi, supposedly, who was able to rely on the early game, hasn't shown that much, and they're gonna get the blue side pick again this time. So we'll have to see if Echo is their choice. Called
it
it.
will be. From the looks of it, at least, yeah, that will be an echo. Okay, so now, what does TPA respond with? That's the question. I think they could comfortably pick a top laner here, of course. As far as matchup goes, I would like to see Maokai. Maokai is pretty good into echo. The Poppy hasn't been great for any team that's really picked her so far. So I'd like to see maybe just something a little bit different in general, or something a little bit stronger into this Echo. I think it has to be the Maokai.
Yeah, I don't know about Maokai though. Just the early laning phase is not good for Maokai into Echo at all because of just how much more damage is built into Echo's kit. He's going to win that matchup either way. I know in the late game, definitely becomes Maokai's game to lose though once he gets tanky enough. But instead, the bot lane early pick from TPA, they don't want to give away their plan just yet. And I think it's because of their confidence in their ability to counter what Machi has in store.
And we're going to see something different for once. Machi, they cannot pick the Braum this time. Alistair's still banned away from TPA. Not a single change banned from TPA. Not even the order. They haven't even tried to mix it up by just banning Alistair first or something like that. They've just always been Trundle, Gragas, Alistair every single game this series. So
Right.
now, I want to know, what else does Dreamer have? What else can he play? Because now TPA is making the definitive statement that you will not get your pick. You will not get the only thing you've shown 3 games in a row.
Look at
And
this, Machi
now
trying to give TPA a taste of their own medicine.
they're daring them into picking the Azir because they can't pick Azir into Varus. So now they have to go for what might be considered a somewhat of a subpar pick. Azir is so popular, especially in the LMS. What will they do now? That's what I'm really curious about, because they can't afford to pick Azir into a composition with Jhin still open. They already locked their ADC of Lucian, so they can't take the Jhin away.
No, they're gonna go for the in-your-face comp this time. Jin's gonna be
Is
the choice
Machi
for
going to?
Machi. Yeah,
They
this looks
might do the
familiar.
same comp. They might run the exact same comp actually as TPA did last game. They have all of the picks so far, and they can get the last they can get the last two here.
Yeah, I really don't blame them because that last composition from TPA just had everything. You had split push and echo, you had poke, obviously, and then a ton of catch potential. And then even in a team fight, if Echo can get far ahead, he's gonna wreak havoc in your back line and completely mess up your team fight strategy. But yeah, this is the exact same composition from Machi, and we'll have to see if TPA has what it takes. Can did they do they know their own composition enough to be able to play against it? Because it looks like they're picking they're picking Poppy in the top lane against the team composition that simply spun circles around Poppy earlier.
Yeah, I mean, oh, Fizz would be a very cool adaptation though, because Fizz has a lot of kill potential. Actually, you know what? Before I get too far onto Fizz, since it's just a hover, Zed is also open. That could definitely be a pick. Yasuo is also open. Yasuo does pretty well against poke comps with Braum. Lissandra would not be bad either. That's also very punishing for Varus. That forces Varus into taking cleanse. And they can have double TP with this comp too. This is really smart from TPA, actually.
There's no Kindred this time to deny the AoE damage from Fofo, as he was denied so heavily a few games ago. And
Yeah,
so he's going to give it
no breaks. No breaks on either of these compositions now. There's nothing to keep them hanging by a thread for any longer than the game would otherwise allow. So this is going to be, I think this is set up to be a pretty explosive game with there being really not a lot of safety nets or not as many safety nets as there usually are for either team.
TPA hopefully giving themselves the tools to play against this very the word for it I can't really find right now, but this team comp that essentially just doesn't let you do anything because they will poke you out, they will outpush you, and they will outflank you as well because they're so far back you can't really get around them. But with something like Glacial Path, and then of course a probably better positioning from Braum this time around, will give TPA what they need in order to get the jump on this very powerful composition. Or maybe it won't be, because if Machi is able to read their opponents like the way that TPA was able to read them, then this could be a shutout from this very oppressive combination.
Yeah, I mean, Glacial Path is very, very telegraphed. It will be extremely easy to line up poke or any of the catch potential that this composition of Machi brings onto that Lissandra specifically, and that might force her into self-ulting. That might force her into sub-optimally ulting just so she can try to hang on for a little bit longer in these fights. And in that situation, that is not good for this, for what needs to be an engaged composition from TPA.
Yeah, the one advantage that they may have though is in this early game is that their composition is just slightly stronger in these multi-man skirmishes, and if they decide to go for any sort of dive, their team as a whole is just a little bit more durable. So if they can grab that early advantage, then the poke composition may never even have a chance to come online. And they're trying to enable that right now because they're going for very early aggressive invades to try to set their opponents behind.
Yep, so they also just want lane swap wards. That's mostly what it's for. Anything else is just a little bit extra, really.
Well, I'd call this a little bit extra right now. Bebe and Jay is definitely sticking around a little bit longer than Machi would expect, but they're going to put all of their members on the other side of the jungle, so nobody going to fall prey to that cheese right now.
I'm actually really curious now. I can't help but think with how strong this composition that's now been copied by Machi from TPA this game, I can't help but wonder if this comp will pick up steam elsewhere. Because we have like some of the biggest competition coming up like within just a few hours of when these games are happening and when we're doing these VODs. I'm wondering if this poke composition will carry over into maybe some of the LCS matches, maybe LPL, LCK. Will we see this comp at MSI, maybe? no matter who goes, will we see this move up through the rest of the LMS playoffs? I'm really, really curious now.
Yeah, I suppose we all are just waiting for the regions to finally meet at MSI, and that's when we'll definitely see the different strategy of each team. But I think, yeah, I would definitely agree if I was making any decisions for the teams playing out in the playoffs this weekend. Paying attention to the other regions to see what's good and what's not would definitely be very useful. And I don't know enough about other regions enough to know if NALCS is really that open minded about other regions.
They are. A lot of the regions are actually, especially in NA, because a lot of the analysts in NA, a lot of the coaches in NA are really smart,
Hmm.
and they'll know that they need to be looking elsewhere and picking up different strategies. Like for example, a few months ago, Jinair Trace pioneered Graves top. Basically, he played Graves top, or maybe it was Smeb. Somebody played Graves top to a lot of success, and all of a sudden it snowballed to all of the other regions. And Echo top too. Smeb picked Echo top, Duke picked Echo top, and now it's being seen everywhere with the exact build that they ran, and it was picked in the European and North American LCS within a day of it, within like 8 hours of the matches happening. So open-mindedness is something that's really, really common in high-level league teams. They know that other places might have different ideas than them, and they want to be on top of those trends if at all possible, so that they have counter picks ready. They can pull things out against teams that might be not as well researched potentially, and a whole bunch of other factors. But we're watching LMS right now. Let's talk about the game at hand a little bit. We have lane swaps, completely standard, basically. Nothing out of the ordinary. Not even the top laners are going to be getting gold from the turrets or anything like that. Just push in, kill turret, swap to the opposite side of the map, and try to repeat.
I do want to add a little bit something extra to that point. Yeah,
Okay.
when you said that Graves had, when you mentioned that it actually proliferated in around 8 hours. That's the important part that I'm worried about because of how close together these matches are. At that short of a time frame, do you really want to be risking it to try a new strategy, or do you want to spend all of that time researching the opponents that are coming up in less than a day? That's the important question
Right.
that I feel like when I think at MSI we'll definitely see something like this because that gives
Yeah.
it so much more time to mature. And
Yeah.
as far as four-man tower trades before 5 minutes, though, that might be a little bit more different because LMS definitely takes this whole lane swap thing to a new extreme, at least
Yeah.
compared to NA, who have pretty much, even compared to Korea, are considered, very, very good at the whole lane swap game. Korea actually taking after NA in that regard.
Yeah, a lot of the strategies are now starting to converge as everybody decides on one or two things that are the most optimal in particular situations. There's not a ton of diversity in the strategies anymore, but in as far as frequency goes, LMS is definitely one of the most frequent regions that I've ever seen for lane swapping. It's been every single game this series, every game in other series that we've practiced on. It's just everywhere. Lane swapping every single match, it seems, nearly. And even sometimes both teams are even lane swapping, and it's technically hardly even a lane swap, but they do it so frequently, even both teams will do it sometimes.
Yeah, it's really
It's,
not. It's really not about the bot lane matchups at all most of the time. They just want those turrets, and then
yeah.
their top lane is this standard for them.
Yeah, it's weird how the strategy works in and can bolster the meta though. Like this is a debate that was popular a few months ago that Monte Cristo had to kind of come out in support of lane swaps on Twitter, and he explained that lane swaps are important to the meta and healthy for the meta because they allow new picks to exist. They allow weaker lanes to exist. They allow different matchups that would otherwise be impossible or really poor or suboptimal at the very least to exist on very high frequency. And pretty much everyone is lane swapping all the time now. But again, LMS still probably one of the most frequent that I've seen, but the importance of it is very interesting for how common it seems, even when it's not necessary. It's still being done just because it's better.
Right, and the other advantage is it always gives that team on the blue side the ability to take that Rift Herald, and we see
Hmm.
Taizan the buff a little bit early, but of course the defensive bonus, since it isn't there, it's not a Baron buff, they aren't able to do much more to that inner turret. Apex, though, is not having a very fun time now in his lane, down 10 CS and down in health and mana, giving Fofo the advantage here. Refrain, though, going to come back him up to do a little bit more damage to this turret. It's actually falling quite quickly. Graves, if he's able to get all 4 bullets on the turret, Apex actually forced to ult because
Oh
Taizan coming
no!
around to miss the cocoon, and Refrain going to walk away from his life with his life.
Yeah, really rough cocoon there from
Oh
Taizan.
man.
Definitely not as comfortable on this Elise as he is on Kindred. He was really trying hard not to hit the minions there. I think he should have just taken one step down and just so he could angle that a little bit better, and he would have been okay. But nonetheless, I mean, Fofo gets out in the
Oh, he
end.
hits
Refrain
that
a little bit
cocoon, though.
caught, but
Dreamer
Jay's
gonna land
here.
the hook onto Jay, but Jay lands the Winter's Bite in response.
Oh,
Fofo gonna come over the wall with Glacial Path, but Taizan has the repel to get out safely. Oh, Apex. Wow, that
ooh,
arrow does a ton already.
wow. Yeah, so much flat AD already built up onto Apex right now. He is pretty strong all of a sudden, and Refrain's not all that tanky. He's pretty much all damage at the moment. This is a big wave from Bebe, though. Somebody is going to have to respond. It looks like it will be D and Dreamer. They're going to be able to move down safely, taking one of the safest possible routes they can. And they'll even clear out some jungle from TPA as well. So far, looking at the gold, it's actually in TPA's favor by quite a lot, by 1K already.
Yeah, look at the CS leads in top and mid right now. Bobo's kind of wandering around the jungle aimlessly. He's not in lane to farm up, and it's not like Morning was super freezing at his side of the map either. I think it might have just been a temporary lull, but somehow, some way, TPA set that up for their advantage in the top lane as well.
Yeah, so 20 CS leads in both the mid and top lanes is huge, especially for solo laners. It means a lot to the lanes specifically, and it also means a lot to the game overall as we're seeing come out as a gold lead here. It is shrinking pretty quickly now that everybody on Machi is farming, but it'll grow right back to where it was just a moment ago. Apex, he's backing again already. He seems to have the Metamune. Yep, he does. Okay, so it makes sense to back for that to get it, but I don't know if that back timing was actually that worth. That was pretty early. Now he's going to lose farm as well. Might
Yeah,
even lose mid turret, actually. TPA. They can go for this. Just go. Just walk up to the turret.
Machi was hoping to have D Dreamer and Taizan to defend this turret, but TPA, wasn't able to make the moves before Apex gets back in the lane. That was looking a little bit scary for them right now because Fofo did have the position, but Refrain was opting to actually try to get the flank on the jungle, I suppose. Of course, Dreamer had much to say about that.
Yeah, and that's just, again, going to be a potential opportunity for TPA, and it's not taken again. This has happened many of times just in the series alone for both teams. But TPA in particular, they seem to be kind of shaky when it's not a poke comp.
Yeah,
When they played this poke comp last game, they played they played really aggressive, but they played exactly to their strengths and avoided their weaknesses. And with every other comp, it doesn't seem like they know how to do that, or they don't want to.
I just don't think they're feeling confident because
Oh,
nobody has a finished item at this Fofo.
wow. He would have been death sentence into cocoon, into chain of corruption, into death, if not for that ult. But man, why even you don't hug in between the turret and the wall against a skill shot team? That's
No,
just
yeah.
that's just really bad. That's a bad idea.
I would argue that Flash might have been even a better
Oh,
exponential right there because Jay is going to be the one that gets chain CC'd up now. A little bit tankier though because of that unbreakable. Wow, TBA just scattering in light of this curtain call. Nobody goes down, but that was a little bit of a running around with headless chicken style right there from TPA. You
a
can see it
little
just
bit
that curtain call is just it doesn't even have to kill anyone. It's like it
scary.
freezes everything for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Suddenly everybody forgets what they were trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, suddenly it's like somebody shooting at their feet and telling them to dance. Like they feel like they have to be running around in circles. They can just you can just remain calm and then just try to juke them all out. But man, TPA they scatter
Yeah, I would
very
have been.
quickly. That was really interesting.
I would have been really impressed if Machi had timed that so that they could have taken the turret during that.
Yeah,
They had
that would
so
have
many
been really
people
nice.
in mid right there. That curtain call could have been the setup that they needed to make TPA move in the wrong direction and give up that turret.
Yeah, because like the shots weren't going to kill anyone. The shots are not the scary part. The possibility of the shots are the scary part. Don't even fire one, maybe two, maybe three, but just drag it out as long as you can for the duration and take the turret. That would have been really, really smart if Machi had used that to take the turret and then just refund part of the cooldown and then
Yeah.
have that up a little bit sooner while also getting a big advantage with it.
Is that a Rage Blade on Lucian?
Wait, it is. It's a Rage Blade Lucian.
I just watched this video
Yeah.
today. Um, because when I first saw the Rage Blade Tristana, like I could not wrap my mind, and I was a Tristana main for a really long time, and I thought, okay, makes her mid game a little bit better. I mean, I guess she's just in such a terrible spot right now in the early and mid game that anything could be better for her right now. And Rage Blade is just such a powerful item on its own. 64% attack speed in one item that costs less than 3,000 gold is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
Plus all the other stats as well.
yeah, that's only the attack speed, which is
Yeah.
probably the most pertinent on an AD carry like Tristana. But for Lucian though, so I was watching a video by a YouTuber called Pants on Dragons or
Ansar
or,
Dragon.
yeah. So he hypothesized that Lucian was going to be the next one, out of nowhere.
Huh.
He's just like, maybe we'll start seeing this comp on other people, maybe Lucian. But then again, Lucian doesn't have. I just think it's weird that we'll see how this works out
Yeah.
for Bebe.
Man, I mean, there's it's hard to justify. He casts abilities a lot. Oh, okay. All right, Refrain got it.
Oh, there we go,
Jay
baby.
caught
The
up,
culling buffed up by the AP and AD from the Rage Blade, but Bobo got first blood onto Fofo, who actually comes in and ults himself. That's a good ultimate on himself for once. And D gonna get caught up as well by the Keeper's Verdict. He goes down before he can snare anybody with the Deadly Flourish, and that's 2 for 1. Actually, Jay actually ended up dying in that one. Bobo, though, is full health, has parallel conversions, wants to be the hero against 4 people here. Does get them to back off of the turret.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about this Lucian build. I'm curious what he's going to build second. I could see a Phantom Dancer, something that he just auto attacks a lot. Maybe he's going Rage Blade. Why not just go all out? Maybe Runons. Maybe Runons might not be terrible. I don't think that's what we'll see. Oh man, he's building. No,
Looks like a
wow.
Runons.
Yeah, I can't.
I can't tell right now, but it's
Yeah, it's really, really hard to tell.
still a possibility. That's
But
no
it
KG
is a possibility.
shard.
Yeah, it's looking like it. Honestly, it kind of looks like it. If he gets a recurve bow next back,
Yep.
then we'll know for sure.
I don't know. I don't really see this. I mean, I guess if you stacked it up all the way and then fired the color,
Yeah.
you could probably kill somebody, but
Yeah, I mean it's so hard to justify. The big reason that is popular in Tristana is because of her. It works really really well with her Q. Okay, let's talk about this fight first. So Refrain, he gets a little bit caught. Jay just constantly hooked up by everything. He gets sniped out by the curtain call in the end. The last shot actually is passed by D. But then he gets a little bit caught. Morning with the ult. Refrain flashes even. They get the
looking
ult.
down in the
Refrain
bottom,
caught
Refrain
again.
gets caught by the cocoon and hooked and snared and dead. And that's the middle turret for Machi now. Taking back what they lost in that last fight. One more kill. Now even in kills, but still down in gold despite being up in turrets. But Fofo might be the next to go down here. Snared cocoon and
man.
more chain CC to get the kill onto Fofo.
And that's what's so powerful about this composition. You hit one thing, then you hit the next thing, and you hit the next thing, and the next, and the next, and it goes on it goes on as long as the target is alive, basically. Like if somebody is to die in the middle of that combo, that's the only time they won't get hit by something else, because it's so easy to hit everything. Yep, Iceborne on Echo, so he can E in, proc Iceborne, then they can't dodge Deadly Flourish, then they can get hit by Curtain Call, or a Cocoon, or a Death Sentence. and then whichever one of those two, the cocoon death sentence, is not used, and then the curtain call duration, and then also chain of corruption could potentially pile on it. It's just infinite CC from this comp, and they're all so safe. Echo and Elise never have to worry about dying to a turret unless they completely screw up their abilities. Apex and D never have to worry about getting caught unless they completely screw up their positioning. It's such a beautiful composition. It does so many things so well, and it covers its own weaknesses
Bobo's
really
double
well.
buff.
Oh man, this is really scary. Really, really scary to have an Echo with double buffs. But man, if nothing else, Machi, they're able to do something. They're ahead in turrets. Or wait, I'm thinking backwards here. I'm thinking that Machi is the one playing against
You're
this
gonna
comp
get
again.
field goal, but Dreamer's a little bit out of position here.
Okay.
Bebe gets slowed by the box, missing the hook from Dreamer as well, but the snare is not gonna actually snare anybody because he wasn't marked.
Okay, let me flip my statement from before. TPA, they're only down one turret. They have a dragon. They're only down 900 gold. They're still in an okay position right now. It's not as bad as it was last game. They seem to have some idea of how to play against their own composition.
I just think once you start hitting the 20-minute mark, you can't afford to be even with this composition. Like, you can't afford to be even slightly down. TPA is supposed to be much further ahead by now. And okay, so that Rage Blade, like, while that earlier fight was happening up top, Lucian pushed down the bottom inner turret on Machi's side. I think Rage Blade, if you think about it, every single stat that it gives helps you push turret faster. If you had gone something like Essence Reaver, the crit goes to waste, and the cooldown reduction is almost a waste, so it turns Lucian into this very potent split-pushing threat. Not that he already wasn't, but even better.
Yeah.
At least for Tristana, you have a total of a 2.4 AP ratio on all of your skills.
Yeah.
But anybody can build Rage Blade and become a super powerful split pusher, I suppose.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's like a Hydra. It's like a Hydra for range champions, basically. I think that's a pretty large, aside from all the stats that it gives, like just the possibility of having something that lets you push as hard as making all of your auto attacks AoE on a ranged champion now.
Oh, D though, gonna get assaulted by this Rage Blade Lucian.
So what I like about this build is that he did go for PD. I'm really happy that he went for PD. Actually, instead of Runons, because Runons would just be stupid, I think. Lucian, he autos a lot, but if he's standing close enough that he can be autoing 3 people at once with his short range, he's probably going to be dead. Like, very soon. So, Phantom Dancer, it lets you dodge in and out. It gives you as much attack speed of any of the items.
It gives the most, actually, at 45%.
It gives the most out of Shiv, PD, or Rapid Fire Cannon. You don't have a single auto-only benefit until it stacks up again. It's always as powerful as it is all throughout the time you own the item, basically. Plus, it makes you take less damage from enemies that you hit as well. So, I think that this is as good as this Rage Blade Lucian build is really going to get, honestly. And he does actually benefit from the AP quite a lot. Like, the culling scales pretty well. I don't know the exact ratio, but it scales pretty well with AP. It scales with AP and AD. And then the number of shots, unless I'm... Actually, no, they changed that.
No, they changed. It's a flat number now.
They did change that. It is a flat number now, but the speed of the shots is still affected by attack speed, I believe. That might not even
I don't remember reading about that.
Well, anyway, he benefits a lot from the item. But
I mean, I would say it's better. It'd be better if culling actually stacked it. Unfortunately, it doesn't stack.
Yeah, if
the Rage Blade. So
if
he's losing. He's gonna lose all that power as he's using the culling, and he has to actually get 8 stacks before getting that benefit. I still think it's because of the amount of damage that he deals to towers. That AP also scales really well with tower damage is something that a lot of people forget. When AP champions are taking like their towers down, doing a fifth of its HP with each auto attack, because of how much AP they have.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's just a bonus.
Yeah, it gives really good wave clear. It makes him really good in team fights because he can hit a bunch of people at once, basically. Man, this comp is still, even though Machi is only a little bit ahead, there's still a little bit enough ahead. That was horrible wording, but they're still ahead, still far enough ahead. There we go, words. They're still far enough ahead that they're able to take advantage of the strengths of the comp and just punish TPA for anything that they do, for existing, basically. TPA walks into their jungle, well, they just stand way back and poke you. They get to Machi gets to a turret, well, they just stand way back and poke you. Like,
Yeah, like I said, if TPA is even in this game, they're losing the game.
they get to do whatever they want at any point. There's not really any point where this comp doesn't get to do what they want until they're either getting engaged on by a really heavy engaged team or they're dead. Like, those are the only two times that this comp will not get exactly the win condition that they want, really.
Mm-hmm. You ban away Gragas, you ban away Trundle, you ban away Alistar. This is the kind of composition that you get back in reverse.
I mean, now, I said earlier that I'm curious as to whether this comp will expand anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it actually will.
I still think Gragas definitely would just completely rip this one apart. Yeah,
I think it would. There's so many champions that can't make it through for this composition to work, and that it has a lot of weaknesses. Speaking of weaknesses, this could be a team fight. This could be exactly what
Dido has to flash into the glacial prison. He's dead almost immediately. Wow. Fofo, though, being going to be a huge carry for his team. Morning scuffling a little bit with Bobo on the side there. Refrain. They're a little bit surrounded, TPA, but they are also a man up. Taizen doesn't want this. He's going to waddle away, though. Takes the lantern. Morning almost in position here. No, that gives Machi the freedom to move back out of here. Slowed a little bit by the parallel convergence. Hook missing.
Oh, so close.
Yeah, disengage for Machi, as they should be, as their comp dictates.
And they tried to get the TP flank off there, and that almost worked. I mean, that fight was in TPA's favor. Mm-hmm. They got one kill. They didn't lose anyone. That's great. That's fantastic for them, actually, because they didn't commit a lot of big resources to that. That is not a fight that is a once-in-a-lifetime fight or once-in-a-game fight. All they did was they just had Fofo TP in and then just run D down with the home guards and ulted him. That's it, and he died. That's all they need to do. But the issue is that Machi was also split. If Machi does not split anymore like that, if they don't let themselves get split apart like that anymore, that's never going to work out as well as it did there again.
Also, TPA had no reason to lose that dragon right there. They all recalled after getting that pick instead of doing anything with it. And then Machi's like, okay, we'll take the dragon.
All right. Yeah, I mean, that's smart for Machi to go ahead and take advantage of that. But TPA, man, like, they look good in some respects, but then in others, it's just like, what are you doing at some points? There's a lot of questionable decisions being made by TPA in this series in general. And, well, Refrain, he got the blue buff. It took a collateral damage, but he got it.
So what is with the Mortal Reminder from Varus? And I mean, there isn't healing on the enemy team, so what?
It's just meant to thwart any lifesteal, because since
Fofo gets cut. The arrow doesn't hit, but the Chain of Corruption did. Cocoon also going to tag him as well. Fofo will die here. Actually, flashing forward to snare Apex, but Apex kills him anyway. Jay going to take the hook through the shield and the flay as well. He might be in trouble. Glacial Fissure to catch Apex instead, actually, and that's two down for Machi, though. 2 kills so far.
Okay.
Maybe not in the right position. Lifesteal.
Morning.
Bobo doesn't have much mana left. Morning's
going
to win this.
That's all he needs.
Just stops the TP. Look at how fast Machi is pushing towards the mid lane right now.
Yeah, they can do this really quick. They clear so quickly with the Varus and the Jhin. Like, they have so much wave clear between these two champions. Okay, so real quick, Mortal Reminder. Oh, never mind. Bobo.
Bobo's going to die for that one, but his team gets the inhibitor turret, so...
Oh, is he?
Oh, he still had flash.
He's out. That's
Wow.
it. He got the passive. The passive speed is so good.
And look at that. Machi is actually still down in gold. No doubt they're winning this game, but that I think it's yeah, oh yeah, okay, the farm lead for Bebe down in bottom. Rageblade, definitely very useful for farming. Um, but other than that, no lifesteal on his end either so far. So what were you gonna say about the
All right, Mortal Remind. Right. Uh, so Grievous Wounds, you probably saw at the beginning of the season, no longer affect healing from any source other than the target hit. So it has to be it only affects self healing.
mhm.
So, mortal reminder: whenever you land poke as Varus at any point, any life steal or any form of self healing. So in this case, summoner heal, self Lissandra ult, any life steal that Bebe would have, the warlord. Yeah,
Oh,
the
whoa,
warlord.
that's such a good
Oh
catch under
no!
refrain, but he's gonna ult away from this one. Flash, the curtain call is gonna kill him though.
Oh,
Jay is in the middle of 4 people right now. Curtain call just out of range, but Apex takes him down anyway.
beautiful from Machi. Catching out refrain again. He is not having a good game.
Dude, that is such a nightmare of
Refrain.
skill shots to dodge though.
It
You see how many
is.
things flew at him from different
Yeah,
angles?
it's just all over the place. It this reminds me, this comp, it's not quite that to that point, but it reminds me of like a five globals comp where you just run Ashe, Ezreal, Draven, and probably now Jin as well, and whoever else has a global ultimate, like Karthus as well. Like, you just throw everything at everyone from across the map, and a full combo will usually kill them. Let's talk about this catch real quick. So yeah, refrain. He just walked way too far forward. Beautiful deadly flourish onto him from D though.
Yeah,
Absolutely
Tyson,
perfect snipe as
of course,
well.
always has repel to back out of that one.
Yeah, and there's just no risk. Again, just very little risk with this composition when they are able to get a pick like that, and they just turn it into so much. So now, Machi, they just need to keep they just need to keep going. In order for TPA to win this game, at this point, Refrain has to play so carefully. Honestly, I think that I almost would have preferred instead. I know that early game junglers are very meta right now, but as a last ditch effort, potentially, to try and break this comp, I think Rek'Sai wouldn't have been terrible for TPA to pick instead of the Graves, honestly. So much poke still. Obviously, the Rek'Sai wouldn't be able to help here. Oh, here comes Fofo with a TP. He's looking to
Oh,
flank
Bebe is the
around.
one cocooned
No,
up now, but Jay
as
takes the
well.
hook for him. That means Bebe is safe for now. Has to pop the heal to try to save Jay, though.
That's
Chain
it.
of Corruption is actually... Morning's coming around for the flank. Doesn't get the stun onto Apex, though. D is very close to death, though, right now. That's Keeper's ready to keep the enemy team in place right now, but Bobo is wreaking so much havoc on the back lines. There's the curtain call to finish them off. TPA. Bebe actually going to die to Bobo. That's one kill for Jin. God, their splash arts look so familiar, or similar. Morning, though, despite all that time spent in the backline, wasn't able to kill anyone. And Bobo was actually the only person to die right there after doing so much work for his team. That's 2 down for TPA. So much long range catch, though,
Fire
still
touch.
available.
Deathfire touch. One more tick. No.
Oh my
No.
god.
Super minions are on the Nexus though. They already took one turret. The next one's already halfway dead. This is just falling apart for TPA. That was the best fight they could have hoped for. That was the 1 in a million fight that they needed to get back in the game, and it did not work out. They don't lose another inhib. They don't lose another Nexus turret, but they're still... Their base is now in shambles. They have nothing to go home to anymore.
Oh,
Morning, not able to stop
Oh
anyone.
my god.
The shield goes all the way to the fountain.
God,
And
that's gotta be depressing. I mean, 2 failed endeavors for Morning right there in the last few minutes. Despite spending all of that time in the backline, we're gonna see here, he has such a good positioning right now. This is what he wants.
Yeah, Bebe gets caught, and Refrain can't do any damage for the longest time. And then Morning gets in.
Oh, the exhaust on the Fofo.
Gets in, but the exhaust blocks all of the damage. And then Bobo, fantastic ultimate, damage all over the place from him just in general because of how AoE heavy he is. He does die in the end, but it's just not enough. We're going to see TPA grouping in their jungle, trying to do something. But Machi, they were pushing in top. They have a split push Bobo bottom. Now they're actually doing, well, in this case, it's a 4-0-1, but they're actually playing a split push properly. They have vision control, and they have enough vision control around the Baron. They can go for this if they want. It would be kind of risky, but at this point, I don't think that TPA would even be able to get in time. They have the teleport advantage anyway. Morning's trying to fight Bobo here.
Yeah, if Morning has anything to say about it, Bobo will not be able to teleport in, but it's likely that he's not even needed. And it's just such a crazy difference in how the way that these compositions are played. We can see both of the top laners doing what they needed to do, get in the back line and try to cause as much disruption as possible. But then you see Machi, with how much range they have, they're in position to follow up on their top laner despite being 2 screens away. And TPA just wasn't.
TPA, speaking of, well, not in position, they're just not in their base right now. And Machi, they're pushing forward. They're looking for this. Bobo's TPing in. He has
Bebe is caught and he is dead. Oh, just barely. Oh my god. It's like they wanted to give that kill over to Bobo or something. It took forever to kill him, but they get the inhibitor either way. How did Morning end up in the mid lane? Outside of his base after chasing Bobo. I thought he would have at least backed up to try to defend, but Jay might die to Bobo instead. Morning gets the stun of Bobo onto the dead Nexus turret, but Apex gets the kill onto Braum anyway.
Yeah, and Apex, he does get knocked back by the Keeper's Verdict, but it's just a little bit of stalling. It just slows him down. It doesn't stop the result. Morning is back. He's coming out with Home Guards, GA, full health. This is everything he could want and more.
Oh, and
but
TPA
will even be enough.
Yeah, TPA doing their best that they could against their own strategy right here, staying very close in the goal, so they almost succeeded, but
that's it.
Simply don't have the answer to what the power that this comp brings, whether ahead or not. And wow, that's an interesting turn of events right there. If I were TPA right now, I'd be feeling very embarrassed just having that composition played against yourself.
Yeah, certainly. That must feel terrible for TPA. Will they change their bans now? That's the biggest question that I have going into every single one of these games. Nobody changed any of their bans at all from the third to fourth game. They were identical. Again, TPA has not changed a single ban the entire series, but they might need to. They're on blue side again. They can technically get at least part of this comp. They can prevent part of this comp from being built if they want to. But will they be able to?
I don't think that's the right choice. It's just that these champions individually, they're all so weak. You need all 5 of those members together in order to make that composition work. I think the exception being the Echo, but just that Echo's really only in there just because of how strong he is and because of how good of a split pusher he is as well. But if you can get any sort of tank top liner that can get in and disrupt and also have some split push as icing on the cake, then that composition will work. But I don't think it's a good idea if you want to pick away like one just to prevent the other team from getting the entire combo, because that really only sets you back as well. So if they don't change their bans, then something like that's going to happen. Either that or they're going to give up that composition.
TPA, they don't look happy. No more smiles.
They certainly didn't expect the series to go this long. I think none of the casters did either 3-0 or 3-1 predictions. And that's already been proven wrong, but we'll have to see if the end result is correct in the 5th game coming up now.